Good morning, folks. I hope that this little message finds you well, healthy and happy, and being able to enjoy the summer to some degree. I just thought I'd spend a few moments and share some more thoughts with you. We've had a little incident here at the church that sort of gave me a little bit of inspiration. Last Sunday evening, when I came out of church, I noticed that there was a baby gull in the parking lot of the church, a little gray fledgling, and didn't think anything else of it. I was sort of worried that, being in the parking lot and on the ground, that, it might be in danger of being struck by a vehicle or something like that, but there was little you could do about it. The next day when I returned to church, the fledgling was still down there in the parking lot. And so I decided it might be prudent to make a phone call to wildlife and ask the city of St. John's to come and remove the bird. They don't handle birds, but they passed me on then to the Provincial Wildlife Division, and I was talking with them for a while, and they were sharing with me what happens, or what's normal with regards to gulls and nests and fledglings. And apparently we here at Wesley must have a gull's nest on the flat roof that's on the extension of the church. And at this time of year, once the eggs have hatched and the fledglings begin to grow, of course, they're encouraged to make the attempt to fly. And obviously, this little fledgling wasn't able to fly right away, and it ended up in our parking lot. It's not able to fly back up to the nest. But wildlife was telling me that that's normal, not to worry about it. What'll happen is that the fledgling will probably spend a week or two in the general area. And so they don't come and they don't interfere with the fledglings. But they were sharing with me the fact that the parent gulls will be in the area. They won't feed the fledgling unless it's absolutely necessary, because they want to teach it how to fend for itself, because as an adult it's going to have to do that and to live independently. We have a neighbor across the street who has also noticed the gull. She's a real animal lover. And what she's been doing is coming over and opening up a can of, I think it's tuna-flavored cat food, and she sort of flicks it around the parking lot so that the fledgling can sort of have a peek, have a peck, and get some food, something to eat. And she's also brought over some water to try and give it some drink, because it has been extremely hot for St. John's over the last number of days. And so she's been concerned about that. Even yesterday, another neighbor came over with a small child's, sitting wading pool, one of them plastic ones. And Paul, our caretaker, has been filling it up with water from the church so that the little gull has a place to cool off, to get a drink whenever it needs. And of course, this other woman is continuing to bring over a bit of food. But I've noticed that as they do that, it is always under the watchful eye of either the mother or the father gull on the corner of the roof. Now, when I saw that, I thought to myself, if ever there was an example that Jesus might use to teach a lesson, this would be a prime one. Another little story about it: Paul across the street or across the parking lot, has a number of cats in his house. And when they get out, of course, one of the cats decided to go over and investigate this little gull. And when the cat did, the mother gull swooped down and made certain that her fledgling was safe. She was not afraid to take on the cat and to chase it away. And again, when I heard that, I thought to myself, wow, I can truly understand why Jesus so often used examples from nature to teach us about God and to teach us about God's kingdom. In one particular instance, when Jesus is weeping over Jerusalem, he says, I long to care for you as a mother hen gathers her chicks under her wing. And that notion of the protection the gull showed to her fledgling served as a living example in my eyes of what Jesus was talking about. And when I think about that gull, that baby gull, and I think about our own lives, I can see a parallel with regards to God and God's role in our lives. We do exist always under the care of God. But just like that fledgling, God encourages us to become independent, to be able to look after ourselves, to be able to spread our wings and to fly, to be able to make our way through this world. But God never deserts us, just as that parent never deserted the fledgling. God doesn't desert us. God is always watching. And as the wildlife officer had shared, even though the fledgling is encouraged to find its own food, the mother will not let it starve. Even those times when we seem to be struggling to make our way, we know that God is there to provide. Just like when that cat came as a threat to the fledgling, we know that God is there to offer us his protection. Each and every one of us knows that, or should know, or is invited to know, that God is always present, watching over us, but not interfering in our lives in such a way that we don't have any control, we don't have any freedom, that we can't spread our wings and fly. Of course we can. God wants us to. God wants us to have fullness of life. God wants us to be free and to explore, to soar. But God never leaves us. God is always watching, always ready to help, to offer aid. Another thing that I found was in the response of our neighbor here at the church. There was someone who saw the need in one of God's creatures and did her best to offer help. And I know even now, today, she'll be over in the parking lot 3 or 4 or 5 times checking on that little bird. And I honestly believe that, that's a prime example of how God invites us to help others who are struggling. It's almost like a maternal instinct kicked in to our neighbor. And God stirs within us that same kind of an instinct and invites us to look after the needs of those around us, to do our best, to offer our care and our support, to offer our best to protect. I feel really fortunate that on Sunday I came across this fledgling. I honestly think that God is using this experience as a teaching opportunity for not just myself, not just our neighbor, not just Paul, but for each and every one of us. We've come through some trying times over these last few months. But through it all, we've been able to grow. We've been able to look at the world in a different way. We've been able to appreciate other people and the roles that they play in society in a different way. I honestly believe that although God has been watching over us, He's allowed us to grow, on our own, to experience life in a new way. As we step forward into the future, as we continue to grow as Christians, as we continue to grow as human beings, let us do so knowing that we always are under the watchful, loving, caring, and protective care of our God, of the one who gives us life. Let us never take for granted the presence of God, and let us live knowing that we are never alone. Thanks be to God.